All right, we're
You
good.
guys good audio wise? Everyone good? Can you hear everything?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I can hear
All right,
you guys.
all right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Gary Williams Stole My Lawn Furniture. Yesterday we had Ryan Ripken. Today we had Tim Mayza from the Blue Jays. Yeah, we lost the series opener. The Orioles lost the series opener to the Blue Jays last night, 3-2. It was Barrios and Burns had a nice little pitching duel. Timmy, we're going to actually throw it over to you. He got up in the bullpen 3 times last night, didn't get into the game. What's that like? How's that? How's your mindset in those situations?
Yeah, you're just like preparing for whoever it is you're going to face. You understand like they communicate pretty well with us on pockets of players or areas within the lineup that we may come in and face those guys. So it was just really just so happened that when guys got on or guys were about to reach pitch counts that my area or my pocket in that lineup was coming up. But no, you're just going over game plans and you have your pitching coach in your ear kind of on how to attack guys but the main thing is probably just getting ready and getting loose and getting your arm ready as quick as possible to get ready to face those guys. But no, yesterday was a well played game. I think I can sit here and say we probably need that win more than the Orioles did right now. But big win for us and a good win in the series opener.
Do you know when you come to Baltimore, we have a pretty left-handed heavy lineup. Do you know you're probably going to see more action in those kind of games?
Yeah. I mean, it really depends on the team. For instance, the Twins just came into town and played us before we came here, and there was a couple games where they had 5 lefties in the lineup, but they're one of those teams that as soon as I come in, they're gonna pinch hit. So they're gonna flip the lefties to righties. And then in those cases, it's just a matter of what matchup do you like better? Do you like one of our righties against their lefties and keep them there? Or would they rather me face a righty pinch hitter? So there's a little bit of that. And then, you're kind of trying to set it up for the end of the game. Like, who would you rather, kind of Yimmy and Romano face? Do you want to keep those lefties in there? Is that a better matchup? Or do you want to get those lefties out and have righties in there for Yimmy and Romano in the back end? So I think all those things come into play. For me in particular, I'm probably looking at the pockets where the lefties aren't going to be pinch hit for. We just went to Philly and I had a lot of action there just because they're not going to pinch hit for Schwarber or Harper. So that pocket's going to remain there for the entire game.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, for instance, the bottom of our lineup generally is going to be a left-handed hitter with either Mullins or Cowser or somebody rare, and then Gunner's not going to get pinch hit for. Adley's not going to get pinch hit for. So that would be your kind of the pocket of the lineup, probably.
Yeah. Probably someone somewhere Mullins to Henderson. I don't know the splits exactly on like Adley and Santander on whether they're better, as a lefty or as a righty. But I know our staff and they probably have those numbers. And then I don't know how much. I'm assuming some of that game planning comes with the stadium. Left field is very deep here now, so it's like, do you want them to hit from the right side in order to kind of play to the bigger side of the park and try to get them to pull it over there? Whereas kind of right field now is what the lineup's pretty built for. I think when they pushed that wall back and they loaded up on lefties, they had an understanding of what they were doing and getting lefties who can play to that short part of the field. But yeah, there's a lot of information that I think goes into the decisions that even I don't know all of it. But yeah, when we get to the bullpen, usually our bullpen coach will kind of tell us like, hey, this is where we see you fitting into the game, and sometimes, it's in a perfect scenario. And other times you're just kind of, whether a starter gets knocked out early and then it's just, hey, all hands on deck. We're going to get you in whenever we think best sets you up for success.
Well, yeah. So if you were ever to move teams,
Yeah.
would you look at a park that would suit you or would you just go for the? I'm not saying the biggest contract,
Yeah.
but a team you enjoy, or would you go for something that would suit your what fits you?
Yeah.
And maybe you haven't thought about that.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about it. I know a lot of guys, it's kind of like that family aspect comes first. Like,
Mhm.
okay, what situation best suits my family, whether you have kids or geographically, like, is there an area where you don't want to go? I know a lot of guys from the East Coast, when they go into free agency, it's like, I can't really see myself playing for a West Coast team just because of the time change.
Fair
And,
enough.
you're flying across the country and like, so,
Schooling probably is another thing.
yeah. So I think a lot of guys take that more into consideration than, hey, this ballpark doesn't suit me.
Mhm.
I think there's a couple outliers. I think Colorado is probably an outlier where a lot of pitchers are not looking forward to go there just because it's kind of known that the ball just moves differently. Guys with slower breaking balls or changeups tend to, I don't think, do as well there.
Okay.
But harder breaking balls, like all their pitchers have harder breaking balls, almost like hard cutters, and I think those tend to play just a little bit better in Coors Field than other places.
I asked that question because I remember talking to Kevin Millwood one time, and that's an old school name. He said that he did not want to come to Baltimore unless it was because they gave him $10 million, whatever
Yeah.
it was, but because your ERA is going to immediately go up.
Yeah,
Because at the time the left field fence was not
yeah,
what it is now.
yeah,
So he knew he was going to run.
yeah. And there's some parks. I think Cincinnati is another one that I hear guys talk about that kind of plays small. But no, even like Kevin Gosman walked out yesterday. He's like, I would have given up 20 less homers if this fence was pushed back when I was here. But
Shut up,
yeah.
Gosman.
Is that something you think about, like, while you're on the mound, like you're going to pitch to certain hitters differently because that left field wall is so far back there? Or is that something you're kind of standing on the mound and you're not thinking about while you're pitching?
Before you answer this, Brooks, are you at a Cracker Barrel? Where are you?
I'm in the garage at our beach
I don't know where
place.
you are.
I was trying to get back outside to where I was yesterday, but there's people out. We had family out there, and then family in the living room, and so I'm relegated to the garage now. I'm sitting. I have my laptop sitting on a ping pong table right now.
All right, now I'll let Tim answer.
I think in extreme cases, maybe it gets talked about, but those cases get talked about in our scouting meetings that happen before the series. Is, hey, we want to keep these guys to the big part of the park. Personally, like being a sinker ball guy, I'm trying to get ground balls. So I'm hoping that nobody is able to get the ball in the air, but I think if they do, you'd rather them play to that big side and where there's more ground and more outfield for guys to chase balls down. But when you're out there, it's kind of like your best stuff against them, and what are areas you're trying to match your strengths with their weaknesses, regardless of kind of the dimensions of the field.
Yeah, that between that and like he'll probably. I mean, if I had to guess, correct me if I'm wrong. You're probably a lot of times like you'll pitch to a situation, right? Like if we're not. I mean, if somebody's on second, we're trying to keep them from pulling the ball to the right side or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
Or you're just
you
chasing
still
ground
have to establish that inside corner a lot of times. But I mean, you're just that used to be in the back of my mind at least when I pitched, and I'm sure it is with you, Tim, just because it's just knowing the situation and what the hitter's actually trying to do. So I mean, that's going to play a huge part on how you're going to attack somebody if you know exactly. I mean, if got like I said, a guy on second, get him over, get him in. Right, we know what he's trying to do here, so we can pitch off that a little bit.
Yeah, and there's you're talking about, okay, what's the game like? What's the score? Where are guys going? Am I I think there's situations where you're always chasing weak contact, but there's situations where it's like, hey, base open, I need a strikeout here. I think about kind of your extra innings now with a guy on second. We were talking last night, like you don't need a strikeout, but you know,
No. Yeah.
like last night, I think about Romano, and he comes in and first guy hits a fly ball, gets him to third base. You know, in that situation, like you probably really need a strikeout. Or a ground ball to third base, and that's like a very specific thing. Is like, okay, what pitch do I have that I know he's going to hit a ground ball to third base where the guy doesn't score? So it's just stuff like that where in extra innings, especially, like there are probably moments where he's you know, where you're like, man, I really need a strikeout here, and it sets up for the rest of the game to where a ground ball now with 2 outs ends the game, as opposed to, you know, if that ground ball gets hit a batter earlier, it's probably a run.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think we've talked about this too much, actually, and I don't think I've actually talked with you personally about this, Tim. But like the new rule with the guy starting on second in extra innings, obviously it's great for the game. I enjoy it, but I mean, as a pitcher and as a bullpen pitcher, you guys have to fucking hate it, man. It just puts so much pressure on you to like, you have to either get a pop up, ground ball to the left side, or a strikeout, right? Or something crazy's got to happen, or give up a walk or something, so you're not giving up a dick shot or something like that. It's very, I mean, there's a very low margin for error, I would assume, and that's got to put. I mean, the pressure on you guys out there in the bullpen has to be astronomical.
What's the ruling on like you getting up and rock? Like I call rocket fire, but like getting up to heat up. Like, did they like limit you on that? Like, are they going to get you up multiple times, or are they going to say you only get up once?
No. Like like last night, you know, warm up, you know, roughly 3 times, but we count throws. So like the catcher's counting how many pitches I throw with him down,
Really?
and then that gets that gets like documented. But for the most part, it doesn't like me getting up 3 times last night doesn't affect like today me getting in the game.
Okay.
But if I get up another 3 times today and then I throw again, let's say tomorrow, then it's like, hey, maybe he needs to be down. Like you gotten him up, you know, 6 times in the last 2 days, and then he threw and this and that. So they're tracking that workload in order to, and then like today, like I get catch recs, which are sent out to me, and it's like catch recommendations. So we always base it on like a light day catch, medium day catch, or a heavy day catch, and they'll get sent out to everyone, and it's based off of a 7-day workload, where it's like you've been up X amount of times, or you've been in the game X amount of times. Like really think you should consider like a really light day of catch, like don't go past 60 feet. So those get sent out every day.
Are some taken heavier? Like when you're in the game, is that a heavier load?
Like they have an algorithm for every throw. So game throws have like a heavier workload associated with it, as opposed to like just a regular catch throw when you're just out playing catch. So they have algorithms for all the throws, and then we wear a catapult, which is like a device that tracks like the amount of stress you're putting on your body with each throw.
On your arm, or is that
on my back? So it almost looks like a bra, and then there's like a tracker on my back.
Okay.
And that basically measures, you know, the stress that I'm putting on my arm or my body with each throw, and then that gets put into a computer that then spits out like the workload for the day. No, to answer the extra inning thing, it's tough because every situation is different. I think the home team has a pretty big advantage when it comes to that.
You almost feel like you got to score 2 if you're the visiting team.
Yeah. Like I think if you're the visiting team, you're playing for a big inning. You're playing for multiple runs. But if you're a home team and you can get out of it clean, like that sets you up, you know, perfectly for coming in and being able to end the game. I think we as pitchers try to, unless the situation really dictates it, it's like, okay, that guy on second, like I just need to get 3 outs. And if 1 run scores, then it's kind of like, I think I've done my job pretty well. But there are situations like last night where, you know, Romano goes out, you know, we get 1, like, hey, you're pitching for a save here. Like, you need 3 outs and that guy doesn't need to score. So I think your mindset kind of changes then.
Yeah.
But no, the road team definitely has to play for more than one. And whereas I think if you're able to be a home team in extras and get out of it with a 0, your chances of ending the game in that bottom half are pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I just
it's a
wouldn't love
leadoff
that.
double. It's a leadoff double. So you're coming in with the momentum of a leadoff double, especially if you're the away team and you don't score. The home team is going to have all the momentum, and that's a factor too. I would think.
Yeah.
A huge factor. This is a question I asked Ryan Ripken yesterday when we had him on, but I'm interested to see your perspective. So after your day off Thursday after this series, you have 13 straight. What's your mindset going into a stretch like that? Do you prepare differently, or is it just kind of like this is the season, we're grinding?
Yeah, this is the season. This is the schedule. We just had a week where we had 3 days off. So we had 3 days off in like a 10-day span or something like that, and then we played 6, another day off, and now we have 13. I think you use those days off like valuably and do what you need to prepare for those 13. I know some guys just like chilling at home. I know some guys like to go get a massage, or like float tanks are pretty big. So some guys will use the float tank and relax a little bit. But yeah, I don't think like 13 games. I think guys are like, you know what, like we're in the season, and this is kind of just part of the schedule that we're in is these stretch runs. So not too many guys think of it that way. But yeah, I mean, the off days are nice. I think 3 in 10 days. I think some guys wish, like, man, I wish these were spread out a little better. But the schedule is what it is, and you just have to, you know, you get 162 games, and you got to win as many as possible. So 13 in a row. You know, I will say this: if you're playing well, like you embrace the 13 in a row, you're like, all right, let's keep it rolling. Sometimes when you're struggling a little bit or things aren't going, maybe the off day comes at a good time to kind of like rejuvenate and then get back to it. So I think we're hoping, you know, that we get on a pretty good run here, and that those 13 are treat us well, and we could get something going.
Awesome.
Yeah. So how we feeling this year? Let's do a little reflection on the year so far.
Yeah.
I mean, you and not the team. You, how are you feeling? How's the arm feeling? Are you still working through some stuff?
Yeah. So I would say it has not gone according to plan by any means. You know, I'm not too happy with where I'm at currently pitching wise. But you know, we had a big talk yesterday, and it's like, hey, there's not a, you know, personally, I'm not happy, but you know, I got to put the 6 weeks that have happened to the side. Like, there's nothing I can do. Like, I can't go back and take runs off the stat sheet. But no, I'm going to the park, and you know, I'm working through some adjustments, some mechanical adjustments that I've needed to make. The velo has been a tick or two down, which isn't like crazy. Like when you think of it, like I think sometimes it's made to be a bigger deal than what it is. But no, there's some mechanical adjustments that I'm hoping to make that maybe untap get me back to what my average velocity should be and needs to be.
Are you at 6? Are you at 5?
No, so the past like 3 years, my average velocity's probably been like 93.
All right.
Right now I'm about like 91.5. So, but even at that, like the ball's moving the same. It just comes down to like pitch execution. You know,
I was gonna say, do you feel like the reason for it's missing locations, or you just get a little unlucky?
Yeah. Like I'm just a little bit up in the zone. You know, right now I'm probably not getting as many ground balls as I would have liked. You know, they're kind of lifting the ball a little bit, which is telling me that it's just elevated too much. You know that. But there's things that I need to be better at. You know, I need to get ahead of hitters a little bit more. I think, you know, I know velocity's down, so I tend to pick a little bit, and next thing you know, you're 2-0, and you gotta come to him. So regardless of what the velocity is, I need to do a better job of getting ahead and being on the attack and really forcing contact early. So there's things I'm working through, but I think a lot of it is also mentality. Just getting busy in the strike zone, trusting
Yeah.
stuff, and getting after guys. So we're as a staff, I think we're working through a lot. I don't think the season's gone nearly as well as what we would have liked and what expectations were, but there's still 120 games left, so I think guys are going to get back on track, and I think we're going to be just fine. And yeah, we're in a good spot, and I think we're starting to see some things positively turn in our direction. So no, personally, I just got to do a better job getting ahead and staying ahead and pitching to contact and pitching to weak contact. So
you don't have to say this. You don't have to say this on on camera if you don't want to. Is there pressure being felt by like Schneider and?
No, I mean, I think there's normal, your job's to win games, and I think when you're not winning games, you want to be the guy. I know personally, I want to be a guy that comes in and stops it, and you want to be the guy that kind of stops the bleeding and gets us in a spot to win games. So I think everyone on the team, wants to win. Everybody on the team wants to do well. So I think it's normal pressure that you're feeling. I think when you're going well, it might be a little less. When you're not doing well, it might be a little more, where you put a little bit more pressure on yourself to make pitches and make quality pitches. And I think sometimes when you're doing that, you get out of what makes you good. So
yeah, I think that's normal when you're not doing as well as you think you are. You just naturally start to press a little bit.
Yeah, and then you try to locate and you start picking, and then you start falling behind, and you're like, well, that's not a recipe for success, especially here when hitters are able to kind of make you come to them and make you come in the zone, and for me especially, I'm a 70-80% fastball guy, so it's no secret what I'm trying to do. So when I have to throw a strike and I have to do it with a sinker, and they're ready for it, then there's more of a chance of them getting a hit or them doing damage. So yeah, it just comes to, regardless of stuff, getting ahead, making quality pitches down the zone, and getting guys on the ground early.
At this stage,
we're just
try to work on new pitches, or is that something that pitchers do on a regular basis?
Sometimes. I mean, it's honestly hard to make like wholesale changes in season. Like, you can make like small mechanical adjustments. When you're talking a new pitch, I think it's tough to take a new pitch and be able to execute it in season. Some guys have, but I think it's a lot of them start doing it in the off season, or a lot of them start tinkering with it at the end of the season to carry into the off season and maybe not use it in season. At this point, it's like, I think it's like I know what makes me good and what I can have success with, and it's a matter of like really fine tuning that and being able to locate the two pitches I have and do what I can with those, and so I think if anything there might be a couple adjustments, but I don't know if it's like a brand new pitch that I haven't thrown before. If anything, it's like, hey, how do I take a two seam and elevate it and kind of change eye levels with it and just kind of do new things with the arsenal that I have.
I'm glad you brought up eye levels. Is that something that they teach, like you going high in the zone, low in the zone, high in the zone, low in the zone, to change the eye level of the hitter? Is that something that is practiced?
Yeah, there's some guys, like four seam guys especially on our team. They tend to do it a little more, especially. There's four seam guys where it's like, hey, their ball data, they have a lot of carry, so you're talking spin rates, and these guys have higher spin rates, and so they tend to live at the top of the zone. But every once in a while, if a guy's looking up, they'll throw a four seam down, and kind of get them to change eye levels that way. Sinker ballers and guys who rely on more horizontal movement, I think, tend to be more side to side. You're talking like ping pong and moving out and throwing pitches out and in, as opposed to kind of the elevation game. So that's one area of the zone that I don't know if I've taken advantage of. I've just been relying on forcing guys to get contact early. I want to get guys on the ground early and kind of pitch to weak contact. it's hard to strike guys out when you never get to 2 strikes. So you gotta get busy early and understand that it's hard to hit regardless. So
Yeah.
just
And that was something me and Tim used to talk about this a lot too, just kind of like the philosophy of pitching. And really our ultimate goal as pitchers, right? And Tim has said it probably 3 or 4 times now, is to miss barrels, right? We're trying to create the weakest contact we can. And that goes into like the advanced data. Dustin, I know you got that written down here. And with Brian talking about like trying to tinker with a new pitch. Realistically, you're probably just going to tinker with a pitch that you already have. I would assume when you're seeing data that's not favorable, just to try to figure out that pitch and play with that pitch a little bit more to get that honed in a little bit. Like you said, Tim, I would say that you guys, it has to be super hard just to try to come up with a new pitch in the middle. Like I know when I was playing, like I would tinker with the pitches that I have just to try to make them better because I wasn't seeing good results. But with all the new advanced data, it has to be so much easier to start tinkering a lot more when you're not seeing the numbers that you want to see on it.
When you're struggling and you're working through stuff like this, do you find it more helpful to go to coaches or teammates, or is it combination of both, or is it kind of just dependent on the day or the player, or how's that work?
I would say a combination of both. I think coaches kind of help you see those mechanical changes that need to be made, or the adjustments that they see, and I've looked at video from the past 2-3 years and compared it to this year and noticed some small differences that need to be adjusted, and the coaches were the ones that kind of brought that to my attention. I think the player side is where you go to and you lean on those guys, because everybody has struggled at some point. When you're in this game long enough, like, you're going to go through times where you're struggling a little bit. So I think when you talk to them, it's more like, hey, mentally, how'd you work through it? How'd you get out of it? Like, what did you do to kind of turn the tide a little bit? But the coaches you go to for more like mechanical, maybe like, philosophy type stuff. Like, hey, how am I attacking guys different? Or are we setting up different? Or am I getting too far on the corners? Do I need to change eyesights and change sight points to get back in the zone? And kind of stuff like that. The more like smaller details. But we lean on each other in the pen as more of like kind of mental coaches, to try and like, hey, when you were going through it or whatever, like, what got you out of it? How'd you manage to get through it? And so I think things are never they're never as bad as maybe they feel. It's one of those things where you just you understand it's a long season, and just like that, you can start new streaks where you go on a little roll, or you start feeling good about where you're at. So yeah, it's a combination of both. I've talked to a lot of people, and kind of just am making these small adjustments and waiting to see things just click in the game. I think all it takes is maybe 1 or 2 appearances where you really feel good, and you're like, okay, we're back. We're back rolling. We're back seeing what we need to see. The movement on the pitches is good. The location's good. So, once you gain some positive momentum, then you just kind of keep it rolling, and you ride the wave.
Yeah, I think we all played baseball at the college and high school level, right? So, growing up, like you kind of fall into the rhythm of the season where you start having the same throwing partner every single time. I think you guys would agree with that. Somehow you always gravitate towards that, especially in the pitching staff. So, how much do you lean on the guy that you're playing catch with to say, like, hey, when you're working on something, like your ball is not moving as much, or your ball, like this is what I'm seeing?
Yeah. So Jordan Romano is my catch partner. And yeah, we're constantly giving each other kind of feedback, and then I'll throw flat grounds, and the catchers there are giving me feedback on how things are moving. But really what I'm personally what I'm seeing is that the ball's moving the same, everything's moving the same. It just really is coming down to execution. I'm just like not living in that bottom third of the zone, so I really need to get back to kind of driving the ball down. And so yeah, the movement on it has all proven to be be similar, the same as years past. Maybe a tick down in velocity, but really it's just like the execution of the pitches, and so that comes with a catch partner too, where he'll give me certain targets, and I just have to hit them. Like, you're practicing pitch execution and catch play, and I think that's where it starts. Is like really going out there and really focusing on catch play and really having a detailed oriented catch play to where you know what targets you're trying to hit, and it's like, how many times can I hit these targets, and just that being repeatable in your delivery, and understanding that, it's pitching's at its core about executing pitches. So you got to practice that in catch play too, not just whenever you have the catcher down and you're on the mound, but it's something you practice at all times, every day.
Easy adjustment, Timmy. You got it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steer away from baseball real quick, just to, we talk about baseball all the time. What do you guys do in your off time? Like, do you go? I mean, you have kids, obviously.
Yep.
I mean, do you go to the movies? I mean, like, what does the team do anything together? Like this?
Yeah. So, in the mornings, there's a group of guys who most likely will go to breakfast. And so on the road, it's a little bit easier to get together because guys don't have families. So on the road, in the mornings, you might go get coffee with somebody, or you might go get breakfast with a few of the guys. If you have if you're in a city and you have a day game on a Saturday night, some guys may go out to dinner, and the team might make reservations at a place, and they'll go out to eat that night. But it all depends on whose family's in town. At home, it's a little different because there's a lot of guys with kids and with families. So home off days, a lot of guys will spend those days with their families doing various things around the city. But on the road, it tends to be a little bit easier when you have day games to get out for dinner but guys, we try to. We were home on for a Saturday evening game. I think it was like a 3:00 game, and a bunch of us went to the Maple Leafs game in Toronto.
Awesome.
So things like that guys will get together and do fun stuff like that.
Where'd we go to breakfast in Baltimore? I know it's one of your favorite breakfast spots.
Yeah.
Bird or whatever it's called.
I went to Blue Moon yesterday with Danny Jansen, and then this morning, me and Eric Swanson, we felt like going somewhere a little quicker, so we went to, I think it was called Needs.
Yeah, Needs.
Yeah.
New spot. It's the old H&S Bakery, Brooksy and Dusty. They just remodeled it.
Yeah, but then I
I actually just ordered him lunch down to Pig and Rooster. He doesn't know that. Found out. So.
But I had one of those fancy Pop-Tarts yesterday with Ryan.
Yeah. That's what he was. He was like, yeah. He thought I was in town for yesterday, and I'm like, I'm not going to be there, unfortunately. But he was like, you and Tim and everybody should go to Needs or something beforehand. And I'm like, I'd love to, but
we went to Needs, and then he knows the guy at, was it Iron Rooster, I think it's called.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't eat there.
Yeah,
it's I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that.
Anyway, back to baseball. Corbin Burns and Jose Barrios pitched really well yesterday. Have you seen Corbin Burns pitch before, or was that your first time?
That was my second time. I saw him pitch in 2022. We went to Milwaukee, and I saw him pitch then. But yesterday was the first time in a couple of years that I saw him pitch.
What makes his stuff electric?
I think he just has that cut fastball that's, let's say it averages 95, but he could run it up there, but it's a cut fastball. I think he commands the ball glove side really well. So you're talking, away to righties and into lefties with some cut, and I think he does a really good job. As I think we've talked multiple times today, it's just like he gets ahead with that fastball really well and almost commands it glove side, better than, obviously it's what makes him really good is his command matched with his stuff.
Is the cutter the new crypto? Like, what is?
I think
everyone has a cutter now.
Yeah, I think he's been the one guy who's like, I think he's just had it his whole career. He's just had a fastball that cuts, and it just happens to be 95 as well. But yeah, I think he just locates it really well, and he keeps guys he's on the attack, so he keeps guys, kind of off balance by commanding that cutter and then mixing in a breaking ball. And I think he threw a few changeups yesterday, like 91, and I was like, man, what is that? But yeah, he's you guys got a good one, and I think he's been good for a while now, and so yeah, definitely just a good pitcher, and I think it's anybody who's been around a while who has good stuff and can command it is going to have success, and it's kind of been his recipe is just being able to throw that cutter at any count in any spot and know he's going to have success with it.
This is a question I asked. We talked about the last two podcasts. I asked Ryan Ripken this the other day, and we did it last week. If you weren't getting enough time on the mound, would you grow frustrated? So you can't showcase your talents, basically, to get a contract. Would you grow frustrated? And
as in like time in games?
Yes, because we bring this up because the Orioles have an embarrassment of riches. And so some of these guys are not getting looks. And because of that, they're not going to get time. They're not going to – they might not even get a big contract because they're not getting showcased. Would that frustrate you?
You're not getting consistent work, consistent innings, consistent at-bats, that kind of thing. Would
that frustrate you?
I guess a little – maybe a little bit. Probably. Like, it's hard to say. But I know, like, for instance, I hadn't been off the mound in 4 days. Didn't warm up at all during the Twins series, and then we had an off day. So it's like, how do I stay sharp? How do you stay sharp through the times when maybe you're not getting used as much? And in the bullpen, like you really got to understand, it's like feast or famine. It's never like quite in between. It's either like you're getting used a lot because you're pitching really well, and when you pitch really well, you get used a lot. And it's just like you get counted on in high leverage situations, and you're just – at times you ride that hot hand, like this guy's pitching really well. We're gonna keep riding him out there, keep running him out there, and then there's times when maybe you don't throw for a while. So it's like you got to stay sharp and understand that appearances tend to come in waves, and the biggest thing is staying sharp and staying healthy. So if I'm down 3 days where I haven't touched the mound, like I'll instead of a flat ground, I'll go throw 10 off the mound that day. And just feel the slope and get ready for the game and understand that my time, and my opportunity's coming, and you just got to be ready to maximize it and go out there and do well and, go out there with your best stuff and compete.
So I guess what I'm getting at is like a GM doesn't give a shit how much you're throwing a flat ground.
No.
They don't give a fuck about that. Pardon my language, but they don't give a shit. Like, who cares? I mean, would you get frustrated if you were not getting consistent looks?
I think it'd be more like if you're performing really well, but you're just not getting thrown out there because somebody is a little bit better than you, getting in ahead of you.
Yeah.
Like for example, what he's saying is we have a couple guys in the minors right now that they can't get up where they would be starting on a lot of MLB rosters. So it's like, are they going to start getting frustrated eventually?
I think eventually they probably will. And again, I don't know. It's hard because you don't know what conversations are happening behind, kind of behind closed doors. Like you don't know what the coach is telling them, or what maybe the assistant GM or the farm director is telling them. Like you don't know kind of those conversations that are happening. So depending on what's being told to them, maybe that would put them at ease a little bit, and kind of ease the frustration that hey, you just got to stay patient and your time's coming type of thing. But yeah, I think as long as communication's key when you're looking at a lot of these situations, and as long as you're communicating with the guys and being upfront on do they have an opportunity or where does their opportunity lie, I think that'll kind of make the situations better for a lot of guys.
Yeah, I don't bring that question up because I'm looking for adversity or anything like that. I bring it up because I wonder, like, it's your career. This is your life, and it would piss me off. Like, I want to be out there. I want to be in the show. I want to do my job, even if it's in the minors. I want to be shown.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in the shadows the entire time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's
What,
the balance of the organization. Really, I think they have to kind of figure that out. And as a player, you have to figure out, like Tim said, you have to figure out how to stay sharp through the times where you're just not going to get utilized as much, and that's part of becoming a big leaguer. I think that's a part of the mental part of the game that you have to be able to handle.
That's the whole mindset thing, right, guys? I mean, it's like the mindset and patience. But I mean, I would get frustrated eventually too. It would get to the point where, like, man, like, it's almost like throw me on a shitty team so I can go play. Like,
Come to Oakland.
And you don't know what's, when you're on a good team, that as the end of July nears, like there's a chance you get traded, or there's there's so many different avenues to it's if you're doing well in AAA, or if you're doing well in the minors, or even if you're doing well in the major leagues, like there's always a chance that moves happen and you end up on a new team. And so maybe another team values you more than what your own team does. Like, you just never know. Like, we never know the conversations that happen on a daily basis between GMs or front offices. Like, we just don't. Our job is to go out and get outs whenever I'm told to get outs. And
that's
if
a good point.
Again, like, I'm probably going to be in a good spot.
Would your wife be pissed if you went to Oakland?
No, but I think would she be like, man, that's the West Coast? Like, yeah, but I don't think
Be a
she
lot
would
more travel. Yeah,
I don't think. I think when you're playing professional baseball and when you get a chance to suit up in a big league uniform, like, regardless of where you're at, you gotta take that opportunity and know that not many people get a chance to put on a big league uniform. So you got to take that opportunity and really relish it and really hone in on the moments that you do have. You just never know when this crazy journey is going to end.
On this topic, how do you feel about the uniforms? I feel like Brooks is going there.
Yeah. What did you think about the little Nike Fanatics stuff that was going on earlier in the year?
Yeah, they're different. From what we were told, they are changing it. But I think next year will be when they change it. So obviously this year they're not changing it. Next year, I heard they're going to change it and go back to maybe some of the older stuff.
All right, I'm going to put this out there.
Yeah,
it's $1 billion company.
Yeah.
Fix the fucking uniform.
Yeah.
Right? I don't need to wait till next year. Just do it now.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
All right. We'll get off this topic before I get angry. But have they, speaking of like the trade deadline and stuff like that in July, and I assume that's in the back of their mind. Have you ever been approached here in the last few years about being talked about in a trade or a trade package? Have they come to you at all?
No.
To tell you that they've gotten offers with you, or they've sent offers out with you in it?
No, and I don't think I'll ever get kind of privy to that information. So I think it's just.
Well, they probably go to your agent first anyway.
Yeah. But I don't even know. A lot of times they don't even go to them. A lot of times you're kind of just like. If you're under team control, you're under team control. Like, there's not a whole lot your agent's going to do other than maybe tell you, like, hey, you've been traded, but or help you in that transition to a new team. But yeah,
I agree. I just feel like that's the right way to do business, though. If you're, I don't know, I'd rather be the one to like have the conversation with you before like the media, like before you hear it like in the media or something, or from like your buddy just saw it on Instagram or Twitter and just said it to you.
Yeah. You just don't know how information gets out there, and in kind of today's day and age, like, could get out real fast. Depending who has. Everybody wants to be the first one to break the news. They want to be the one to get the credit. Where it's like, this went down and this guy was the first one to report it.
Fast and wrong is still fast.
Yeah. So you think. It's just
what gets Schefter in trouble sometimes. That's for sure.
But no, so Yeah, I don't know if it's in the back of everyone's mind. I think as it gets closer, maybe people wonder like, what are we gonna do? Like I think as you get closer, you kind of you wonder what bucket you fall into. Like, hey, are we buyers or are we sellers? But nobody really knows until the final hours of the deadline. I think everything happens very late, and kind of forces every team's hand into making decisions. So the later it gets, maybe the more a team will panic. I don't know how these conversations happen or how they gain momentum and get done. But you just hope. Everybody wants to be a competitor. Everybody wants to be in it for the World Series, and everybody wants to win a World Series. So you try to win as many games as possible before then, and even after the deadline, you want to make the playoffs and you want to get a shot at winning a World Series. And that's why everybody plays the game.
You want to be the bottom of the dog pile or the top of the dog pile?
Yeah,
if you ever win the World Series.
I don't know if I'll get there in time to be on the bottom.
Let's hope you're getting the last out, right?
Yeah.
So switching gears from baseball a little bit, I guess. How do you feel about the Eagles draft?
I love it.
Who are the Eagles?
Oh
I
God.
love it. Yeah.
Tim's an Eagles fan.
Yeah.
Big Eagles fan.
The elevator's right there, buddy. All right. Open the window.
I think you guys had a great draft, and I hate to say it because I have a lot of Philly fans in my life as well, and they're a little frustrating every now and then. But getting the 2 stud corners in the first 2 rounds, I think was a great draft for you guys.
Yeah. It seems like Howie kind of crushes the draft every year.
He does.
It just seems like he's in a league of his own when it comes to drafting and when it comes to evaluating, traits, especially during the draft. I think he's kind of been an expert on draft day and draft weekend to making these moves to upgrade talent. You look at not this past draft, but 2 drafts ago and the AJ Brown deal, or I think that was 2, maybe 3, but you look at what he was able to pull off there. And then, this year he gets those 2 corners when, it seemed like an area that needed to be addressed. You get 1 true corner and 1 guy that I hear is probably going to move to safety.
We've talked about this before. They feel like the NFC version of the Ravens in regards to how they run their drafts, the GM situation.
Yeah.
They're just so smart.
Yeah.
They do a great job of what they do. They get quality in every round.
Yeah.
They find a 4th round guy who's going to be a starter for 8 years.
Yeah. So he's definitely been dominant on draft day.
I do not know how he pulled off that AJ Brown trade. I think that's the number one reason why Vrabel got fired, because he's probably still giving the GM shit in Tennessee.
One of my favorite press conferences of all time, watching Mike Vrabel talk about AJ Brown getting traded, and he's just doing this.
There's a video of him in the draft room, like screaming at the GM. Yeah,
in the draft room, he just like threw his arms up and like screamed at him and left. He's like, "What the fuck are we doing?"
I mean, the offense. That offense should be good. Points should not be a problem for the Eagles.
It was last year, though, wasn't it?
A little bit.
At the end of the year, yeah.
I do wonder the whole brotherly shove, the kind of push that they do.
Yeah.
I wonder, is it taking a toll on Jalen Hurts a little bit, and his mobility? Like, is he just toast by the end of the year because of having to do it over and over again? But
I'm not so worried about Jalen Hurts. It's like Jason Kelsey apparently has said, he's come out and said that he would say, like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Every time they would call the play, because you have, I don't know, like 1,500 pounds of man on top of you. That cannot feel good.
Yeah, because when they set up, everybody knows what they're doing. Yeah. It's like no secret.
Can't stop it.
I always thought it'd be a good idea for the backup quarterback to come in. If it's that successful, just get a big backup QB to run just that play.
Tim Tebow could have a career again.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens should do it with Derrick Henry. I think we should just start tush pushing with Derrick Henry. That'd be awesome.
Well, it's also, you need a center that's as good as Jason Kelsey at doing that too. Like we don't.
Well, yeah, I don't think that's
Nobody-
gonna,
no-
that's going to happen.
Nobody
anytime
else.
soon.
Nobody else has had that success because
Yeah.
like I mean,
Buddy
it
of
was
mine
only
is,
stopped twice by Vita Vea or whatever, and that's the only person who could stop it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
buddy of mine's acupuncturist. I think that's the appropriate term. Said Derrick Henry. She just got Derrick Henry as a client. Said he's the most dense human being she has ever seen in regards to like this like mass.
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, we've had Timmy on here for about an hour. He's going to have to go to the stadium, I think, pretty shortly. So I don't want to keep you any longer than we need to.
Well, I bought him lunch, so
Yeah, get him nice, get a nice full stomach in there so he can. I'll root for you,
drunk so he can't pitch
Tim-
tonight.
Timmy. I'll root for you when you're in the game, but the rest of the game, I'm not.
Hey, well, before we leave, how have you met the owner of the Blue Jays? Who is the owner of the Blue Jays? Have you ever met?
Yeah. I've seen him. I've met him once, or maybe a couple times, once or twice. But he was in early this season to see all the renovations that happened. It's the team is owned by Rogers, which is a media group in Toronto, and so the owner is Ed Rogers, and so yeah, he was there and seeing just the new renovations. So just passing, just said hi. But yeah, the team's owned by his company, Rogers. Rogers. I think it's Rogers Communications.
Rogers Communications.
Yeah.
Huh.
All right, man. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on, dude. Appreciate you you giving us your time, and sorry about the little mishap this morning, but we'll see you hopefully next time you're in Baltimore. And
Yeah.
good night. Good luck to the
When are
Blue
we?
Jays.
When's Tim and
Sorry
when's
about
Tim in
the
Baltimore?
sticky doggy. Dixie is sticky.
Tim, when are you in Baltimore again? In August?
Yeah, probably
Right.
sometime then.
All right, I'm gonna try to see if I can at least get a trip back there so we can do a full one live with all of us or something.
Yeah.
See if we can get Mr. Splash to spray the hose at you guys tonight or something.
Yeah.
We've had two guys try to turn that thing off. So
Oh yeah.
Are you guys getting heckled out there by like the splash zone
Yeah.
guys?
We get crushed.
The bird bath?
usually by like kids.
Yeah,
I was heckling him last night. I was screaming at him last night.
Were you in the bird bath last night?
No. I was just walking by like, Mayza! I wasn't even drunk or anything. I was just like,
Yeah, like I said, mostly by kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Get over here. All right, guys. Thank you very much, Tim. Appreciate it. And good luck tonight.
Hey.
Good luck the rest of the season, man.
boys, enjoy your vacation. Have fun. Tell your dad and mom I miss them. I love them. They're awesome. And happy birthday to Kate again. All right.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Thanks,
Sounds
man.
good.
And
Appreciate
for
it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Tim. Thanks for everything the last couple days too.
Thanks, Timmy.
Yeah, you
Appreciate
got
it, man.
Yeah. All right. See
You're
you
the
See you,
best,
boy.
buddy. See ya.
Good,
See you,
man.
buddy.